Okay, picture this. Thanksgiving Eve, 1971.
Right.
This guy calls himself Dan Cooper. He hijacks a plane leaving Portland.
Gets $200,000 ransom. Huge money back then.
And it just jumps out.
Yeah.
Vanishes over Washington State.
And creates the only unsolved skyjacking in U.S. history. It's quite the story.
Absolutely. The audacity is just wow. And somehow D.B. Cooper, which was actually a media mistake.
Yeah, the name stuck, though. He became this, folk hero almost, despite the crime.
So today, we're going to kind of unpack the known facts, the investigation, and, well, all the questions that still hang over this thing.
Let's dive in.
All right, the hijacking. Portland Airport buys a one-way ticket to Seattle.
Mm-hmm. Dan Cooper. Witnesses said, what, mid-40s maybe? About 6 feet.
Yeah, dark hair, kind of olive complexion. Nothing that really stood out. Just a guy in a suit.
Until he gets on the plane, orders a bourbon and soda. Very calm.
And then passes that note to the flight attendant, Florence Schaffner.
Saying he has a bomb. And he wasn't bluffing, or at least he showed her enough. Opened his briefcase slightly.
Yeah, she saw wires, red sticks, looked convincing.
Definitely. So his demands, the 200 grand, specifically in unmarked 20s.
And 4 parachutes.
Yeah.
2 primary, 2 reserve. Which is interesting in itself.
Very. And the FBI, crucially, managed to photograph all the serial numbers of that cash before handing it over.
So they land in Seattle, ransom delivered, parachutes delivered.
And he lets the passengers go, plus 2 of the flight attendants. Keeps the core flight crew.
Then give these really detailed instructions for the next leg towards Reno.
This is where it gets really specific. Fly below 10,000 feet.
Keep the speed under 200 knots.
Landing gear down, flaps at 15 degrees, cabin unpressurized.
He even wanted to take off with the aft stairs down, but they couldn't do that safely.
Right, but it shows. Well, it suggests he knew the Boeing 727 pretty well, especially those aft stairs, unique to that plane model.
Definitely seems like it. So they take off again, heading south.
And they're not alone up there. Military jets are shadowing them discreetly.
Cooper sends the remaining flight attendant, Tina Mucklow, to the cockpit. He's alone back there.
Then, around 8:3 p.m., somewhere near Ariel, Washington, a warning light flashes in the cockpit.
Aft steers are open.
And the plane's tail section suddenly pitches upward slightly. He's gone. Jumped into the storm.
The contrast is it's stark. Knows the plane's systems, apparently.
But his parachute knowledge seems questionable. He jumped into freezing rain, high winds at night.
And one of the parachutes he left behind was a non-functional training chute sewn shut.
Yeah, totally useless. Did he know? Did he not care? Or did he just grab the wrong one?
It's bizarre. And because of this, the FAA mandated the Cooper vane, right?
Exactly. A simple device to stop those stairs being opened mid-flight ever again.
So he jumps, and Operation NORJAK kicks off. The FBI investigation.
Massive. Lasted actively for 45 years. Huge resources poured into it.
They searched that area in southwestern Washington extensively. FBI, police, Army troops.
Even used sophisticated aircraft. But the terrain is brutal, heavily wooded, mountainous, and the weather was terrible.
What did they actually find from the plane itself?
Well, they processed it thoroughly, found some fingerprints, but none matched anyone on record or subsequent suspects.
The famous clip-on tie.
Yep, the tie, some cigarette butts, different brands, confusingly, hair samples, and the 2 parachutes he didn't take.
But nothing that definitively pointed to who he was.
And that media mix-up, calling him D.B. Cooper early on, probably sent investigators down a few wrong paths initially.
So the FBI suspended the active case in 2016. But they said they'd look at serious physical evidence if it turns up.
Which leads us to the few pieces of evidence that have surfaced over the years. That tie, for instance.
Right, what about the tie?
Well, beyond a partial DNA profile they couldn't match, citizen scientists, the Cooper research team, did microscopic analysis.
And found
particles of rare elements. Unalloyed titanium, cerium, strontium sulfide, stuff not commonly found just anywhere.
Suggesting?
Potentially a link to aerospace or maybe high-tech manufacturing. Boeing was a major employer nearby using titanium, but it's circumstantial.
Okay, and then the big one. The money.
Yes. 1980, nearly 9 years after the hijacking. A young boy, Brian Ingram, is digging on a sandbar on the Columbia River Tenebar.
Miles downstream from the likely jump zone.
And he finds 3 bundles of cash, rotten but identifiable, about $5,800.
And the serial numbers?
Matched the ransom money, confirmed. But how did it get there?
The location makes no sense if he landed where they thought.
Exactly. The initial thought was maybe dredging operations moved it, but later studies looked at sand layers, diatoms.
Microscopic algae, right?
Yeah. And the specific types found suggested the money might have entered the water in the spring after the winter, not back in November during the jump.
Did he bury it? Did it wash down later somehow? Just adds more question.
Completely. And we mentioned the parachutes. He jumped with one main, one reserve.
But the reserve he left was the dummy training chute.
Right. And just recently, like late 2023, early 2024, reports surfaced about a modified parachute harness possibly linked to a key suspect.
Richard McCoy Jr.
That's the one. He pulled off a similar hijacking a few months later. The harness was reportedly found on property linked to him and given to the FBI. We're still waiting to see if anything comes of that.
McCoy was always a strong contender, but didn't quite fit the description. Had an alibi. It wasn't clear-cut.
None of them were. Robert Rackstraw, Kenneth Christensen, Dwayne Weber with his deathbed confession. They all had intriguing points, but also big discrepancies. Fingerprints didn't match Weber, for instance.
It's like this perfect suspect paradox. Close, but never quite right.
Exactly. Which leaves the biggest question, what actually happened to Cooper?
Did he make it?
Well, theory one, no. He died. The jump conditions were atrocious. Night, storm, bad gear, rough terrain.
And most of the money is still missing. Maybe lost with him. The Tambar money could have washed down eventually.
Makes sense. But theory two, he survived. No body, no chute ever found in the search area.
Other hijackers, like McCoy, did survive similar jumps.
Right. And maybe the Tenebar money was stashed and recovered partially or entered the river much later. Plus, no missing person report ever really fit Cooper perfectly.
So the debate just continues.
It really does. And thinking about the legacy for you, the listener, it definitely changed things.
Aviation security, for one. The Cooper vein is a direct result.
And just the sheer public fascination. He became this anti-establishment icon for some. There were even D.B. Cooper Days festival.
He's all over pop culture. Books, movies, songs, TV shows. Loki.
Huh, yeah, that too. He's a cultural touchstone for mystery.
Here we are, over 50 years on, still asking, who is D.B. Cooper?
Did he survive? Did he die moments after leaping?
And where is the rest of that $200,000?
The truth remains elusive. Buried somewhere in the rainy forests of the Pacific Northwest, or maybe lost to the Columbia River, or maybe he just walked away.
It's that blend of known facts and sheer speculation that keeps us hooked, I think.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder, what part of this whole enduring puzzle do you find the most compelling?